everyone, so this is my review of Pure Genius, Season 1, Episode 6, called Bunker Hill, We Have a Problem. And basically what this episode's about is that Dr. Walter and many of the Bunker Hill surgeons have to work to try and perfect a remote surgery when someone aboard the International Space Station has a dire need for an emergency surgery. And while that's going on, the team also uses social media to try and figure out the source of a major E. coli outbreak that is going on. And this was a very interesting episode that going into it, I really didn't know what to expect. And I just really enjoyed watching this episode. And the whole idea of this remote surgery aboard the ISS was very cool to watch and see how everything sort of went down. And I do have to agree with Walter about the fact of wanting to do what James wants to do, which was streaming this surgery aboard the ISS live, was probably a bad idea for the fact of all the different things that could have gone wrong. And this whole thing, if something did go wrong, it could hurt the reputation of Bunker Hill more than trying to grow it, like what James wants this surgery to do. And I feel really bad for the astronaut on board the ISS who had to basically be his own nurse when Walter had to do the surgery on him and stuff like that. I felt really bad for him because the fact that he had to basically remain conscious and be his own nurse and deal with all the amount of pain that he probably was in. I was kind of hoping that James would still stream this surgery, even though it was now on a real person and stuff like that. I was hoping that James would still stream it against Walter's wishes, but the fact that he didn't was kind of nice to see that James is sort of growing as a character. And then the story with the E. coli outbreak was really kind of cool to see how the doctors work to try and fix everything, as well as trying to find the source of this E. coli. And I did really, really enjoy how they kind of managed to hide what the source possibly could be until the fact of James figuring out. And that was really cool. I don't know if they actually did hide it, or if it was just took me that long to sort of figure it out. How all these people could be in these separate locations but still manage to get this similar E. coli. That was kind of cool to see that connection come together, and I sort of figuring it out the same time that James did. And the main couple in this episode was a little hard to sort of follow for the fact of how loving they were with each other. But the ending of this episode was very, very sweet for them. And I got a little confused by Angie comparing Dr. Scott's sort of thing where he's constantly eating apples and comparing it to an addiction that I found kind of weird. And I was kind of waiting for something to happen with Dr. Zoe and her lack of sleep, but nothing really did happen, and that kind of is a little disappointing that they put out this thing of her being really, really tired and all that stuff, but then not doing anything with it. So it was kind of an unimportant fact that was thrown into this episode, and I didn't really care for that. But I do have to say, overall, I really enjoyed this episode and found it very, very interesting. So, yeah, that's my review of Pure Genius, Season 1, Episode 6, called Bunker Hill, We Have a Problem. So, yeah. Bye!